Well, as fair warning, I may end up saying some things that I probably shouldn't. But it makes me who I am. I'm human, you know. I make mistakes. I'm like everybody else. And sometimes I'm even more like everybody else because I've had a horrible life. And with it about half over, you gotta just try and keep going. You gotta try and make the best of it and try to get somewhere in life. Not much else you can do. Hi, I'm Christopher Stewart. The UK probably knows me best as Shane Briant. And sometimes it's difficult. It's very difficult because there's an ocean between me and the UK and the people I met there. And that's why talking about these kinds of things has a tendency to get very difficult for me to do. Krull. Krull was the best time of my entire life. It really was. It was everything. It was literally just everything boiled into one. I got to be a monster, I got to wear this cool rubber suit, and I got to swing swords and fight everybody. And I got to work with the girl of my dreams. You can't ask for more than that. When Krull started out, it started out with, of course, my agent freaking out because all of a sudden I had this big role, which was hilarious. And then I got in touch with Val Kilmer, and Val and I went over to England for the armor fitting. And Val talked with people in England, and he got to be an extra with us, so he was one of the Slayers and one of the Grey Knights. He later auditioned for a larger part as one of the Grey Knights. I think it was like the Sergeant at Arms of the Grey Knights kind of thing, which is really kind of cool. And it was a blast working with him. And we came back from the armor fitting, and I had been talking with them, explaining how I had been a sword expert and how I had worked in this film and that film and who my teachers were and what schools I had gone to and so on and so forth. And Armstrong was just thrilled beyond belief. He's like, oh my God, thank God somebody can help me train these people because you and I are the only real experts on set. So I got to be basically his assistant through a lot of it. I mean, he had one prime assistant, but I became his secondary assistant. And one of the things that happened is Ken Marshall, they sent Ken Marshall to work with me. And he and I worked out in the park together, and we just had a blast. It was hilarious. Ken comes out, first time I meet him, he's in his costume and whatnot, so I can't mistake him for anything. And he's carrying two wooden swords. He heard I was a kid and whatnot. And I'm standing there with Shogasugi, and I draw a live steel, and he goes, whoa, 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 wait a minute. And I'm laughing, going, well, you got to get used to the real thing sooner or later. But if you want to practice with those, we can, just to, kind of get your feet wet. And then, we're going to have to make you work out with live steel. You can't be, afraid of it. And he started laughing and went, okay, all right. So the two of us worked out for a couple hours or so, and it really kind of improved his performance, and he did really well. He did super incredible job learning as fast as he did on the sword work he did. And I'm honored to beyond belief that he even still mentions me as his sword instructor any time he does any form of commentary or anything. That's just amazing. And that was mostly pre-production. Most of my stories are more personal stories with Krull and with around that entire time frame. Let's see, the actual theatrical stories I have are very few, really. There was one time where we had a pony on set, and the pony was very skittish, and noise everywhere. There's all sorts of problems with having animals on set, and animal handlers have a hard time with things. They were discussing that, and I was listening to them, and I said, I can take care of that easy. And everyone stopped, turned, looked at me, and said, what? And I said, just give me some fishing line. And the director said, fishing line? And I said, yeah, you tie it to the bridle, and I'm one of the bodies lying down there anyway, so just feed the fishing line to my hand. The horse will treat it like a rein. It'll be completely invisible to the camera. And I'll keep the horse steady, quiet, and calm. And he went, that's amazing. And the animal handler was like, oh, why didn't I think of... No, that's experience talking. Okay, we'll get you some fishing line. And of course, they brought me some fishing line, and we did the shot, and it just came out perfect. And we had a blast doing that kind of thing. One of the funniest things about the entire show is the fact that, number of the cast members are sitting there going, "We've got Eric Idle on set from like Monty Python, and Christopher ends up being the practical Joker." And that was just me at the time. Here I am on set, and I'm standing there with Val, and for the first time we see the main cast walk in, and I look at Val and go, "Oh my God, it's Rowena." And he goes, "Who?" I'll tell you later. And after they walked off, I looked at him and said, "It's Rowena. It's the British actress from the British version of Ivanhoe, for God's sakes." I mean, oh my God. And I had such a crush on Lysette. I had such a crush on her. And the entire cast knew it by about the 5th hour or something like that, And so, we just, a lot of us were having fun. A lot of the jokes were centered kind of on my extreme crush for that girl. And, here we are working on some of this stuff. Well, I at first had gotten the role of being a Slayer and being one of the Red Knights. So they looked at all of us and they said, "We'd like to take the Slayers and do something interesting." And so they brought us together with a couple of monks. And they said, "Okay, all the Slayers, you need to swear an oath of silence. So that if there's a helm on you, anytime there's a visor down, anytime you're locked in armor, you're silent. You cannot speak." And we all swore oaths of silence to, if we had a helm down, armor on, anything like that, we were silent as the grave. And I still kept that all the way through the production, even up to this day, kind of thing. I'm even doing this little bit out of armor just to prove that section of it. And that was amazing. That was fantastic. I love doing that. Because we got to walk behind everybody, listen to the problems this actor or this actress was having with this part or with that other member of the cast, and so on and so forth. And as silent witnesses, we got to help them somewhat, because we could do a little bit of sign language, basically, or show a little bit of emotion with like a sigh or that kind of thing, just to kind of give them a little bit of inspiration into where they were going, where they needed to head. And we got to be great helpers of the cast doing that. And it was fun. It was really enjoyable. I loved doing that. Well, here I am. They fit me up in the white armor for the first time. And so I'm sitting there in the white armor, and they have a whole group of us standing in line and whatnot. And the director says, "Okay, every Slayer here is going to be the main Slayers in the production. They're not like the 4 million extras we brought in for 5 seconds, or the gaffer that we threw in armor because we were missing somebody. So you guys are the main cast. Now, we have a thing. We need a specific Slayer to be a guard, to be the beast's primary guard on his captive." And he didn't really explain much. And he just said, "So whoever takes this position, you have to be serious. You have to act like a prison guard, like a jailer. Even though you're not, you're always silent. And you just got to kind of visualize that in your movements." And then he brought up Lysette. And he looked at her and said, "Choose your Slayer." All I did is I took one step and dropped to my knee. And there were several other Slayers who said or did something. The few people who didn't have helms on so they could actually speak. And Lysette walked down the entire aisle and said this, that, or the other thing to this Slayer, that Slayer. And she walked up to me and said, "Rise, Sir Knight, you are my Slayer." And right then and there, I was picked to be her guard for the movie in the white armor. And, so then we started on this kind of thing. And then the romance between us really kind of hit a really huge bang, because here I am in the Black Slayer armor working out with Armstrong up the flight of stairs. He had mentioned that he loved the sequence between Basil Rathbone and Errol Flynn up a flight of stairs, and he wanted to kind of sort of duplicate that kind of thing with claymores instead of like little tiny stick sword kind of things. So here we are, big two-handed swords fighting each other up a flight of stairs. Lysette comes walking and screaming at the top of my lungs, "Where's my Slayer? I want to hit something." And I turn around and she comes at me with a sword, just attacks me like the Oxford fencer she really is. And just really gets out all of her anger and then storms off. And I'm shaking, and I fall against the back of the set, and Armstrong runs up to me, rips off my helm so I can actually speak, and I burst out laughing. He goes, "Okay, all right, you're laughing, so I know you're okay. So what's up?" And I said, "Oh my God, what a way to meet a woman you've got a crush on." And he burst out laughing, going, "I hope you still do." I said, "You kidding? I'd marry that girl." And we just had an absolute blast laughing about that. And then later on, here we are. I'm with Alun and some of the other cast members, his band, etc. And we're hidden in some side pocket of the set somewhere, which was very easy to do. It was a huge, massive set built on like the 007 stage. And Lysette's walking with the actor who played the Beast, and they're rehearsing lines. And all I hear is their lines going back and forth, and the Beast saying something to the fact of, "So you are the person that I am to marry," or something of these lines. And I just burst out laughing, and I just started in a very loud voice, which immediately Alan and 3 or 4 others started covering my voice, quoting right along with me because they could, and they were trying to keep me kind of hidden from the whole prospect of it. And I just burst out going, "When I do marry, sir, it will not be to one who despises the manner in which I was brought up." And Lysette bursts out laughing. And she goes, who's over there? Who said that?" And Alan takes a bow in front of her. It comes out of the little corner pocket, kind of keeping me hidden and whatnot. And she looks at him and goes, "I would sooner go with Bennett's. But then again, that is what you are." And we all applaud her, and she does a little curtsy, and the Beast is sitting there laughing, going, "What is this?" She laughs because my lines from Ivanhoe, they knew it. They're honoring me with it. It's hilarious. I love them for it. Thank you. We're just having a blast. And they go off, and they continue with everything. People are like trying to hide me through half the set with that. It was hilarious. And there were all sorts of funny things that went on behind set like that, because here I am standing with David, and we're 2 guards in red armor with this giant door alongside of us, and like this bridge leading up to us and whatnot. And the cast members are walking up to us, etc. So periodically I'd sit there and go, "Aha! Whoever approaches me, the bridge of death must answer me these questions 3. Yeah, the other side ye see." And of course we had Eric Idle and say, who bursts out laughing every time we do that kind of thing. And then he would grab us by the arms going, "You are knights of the round table, oh, we dance when we are able," And we just had a blast. We really did. There was one time Lysette was talking to me, and I was in the red armor, and she said something, I don't even remember what it was. And Val looked at me and said something along the lines of, "Too bad you're not in your Slayer armor. You just quote the Veil of Silence." And I went, "That's it!" And I snapped the helm shut and was perfectly quiet. And I heard this little tapping on the visor, and I kicked the visor open, and I'm looking at a can opener. And I look at Lysette kicking the visor all the way up and go, "That's a can opener." She goes, "Aha!" So that's funny, Lysette. We just had an absolute blast. It's like, one of the funny things with it, which, I didn't even know this until later, was the fact that she was the girl from Dark Shadows that had seen me when we were doing the productions with Roger Corman. And part of the funny thing with that was the fact that when I first met her on set, I was standing there, I was one of the guards standing there holding a torch, and she kept looking at me, and Ken was like, "You're looking at the extra, you're supposed to be looking at me." And she's like, "I'm sorry, his eyes are just, okay, all right, I'll get back in the character, and we're not even shooting yet, so don't worry about it." And that was when we first actually saw each other eye to eye with that. And there was several times where, we just run into each other this way or that way, and we just had a blast. One of the funny stories on set, I was picked to work with the tiger, and they figured, kid working with a tiger, great dream and whatnot. And I looked at the animal handler was telling me I got to work with a tiger, and I said, "Oh, great, cool, can I pet him?" And he was like, "Wait a minute, I just said you're getting to work with a tiger." I said, "Yeah, sounds cool. Most people are scared out of their minds." And I said, "Do you know Gunther? Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey Circus?" He goes, "I've heard, but yeah, he's a friend of mine." He went, oh, okay. All right, that makes a little more sense. Director went, you have to forgive Chris. All he's seeing is that blonde anyway, so don't worry about it. You could probably have the tiger bite his head off, and the only thing he'd miss is noticing Lysette walking away. I mean, you know. Then, of course, everyone started picking on me and laughing at me about that, which is hilarious. And when I met the tiger was a doll. I mean, he was just a mush kitty. He was just sniffing me and rolling over wanting to be pet kind of cat. It was just absolutely amazing. And everyone was like, oh yeah, big fearsome tiger, what are we going to do with this thing? And so, you know, they said no worries, because when they had me working out with them, they had a two-way glass panel, so it was like the tiger was actually looking at a reflection of himself so he could act. You know, we had a blast doing that. But the real story was the horse. My black Percheron, Pericles is his name. Amazing animal. You know, and these Percherons were wild Percherons, never been ridden, just, you know, out there in the wild and whatnot. And they were raised for film and that kind of thing. Well, I'm looking at this beautiful black Percheron, and he's standing there as still as like a horse in pasture on a farm. Okay, and he's just perfectly calm and easy. And as soon as I'm on top of him, mounted up to him completely and just perfectly in the saddle, got my hand wrapped around the rope, suddenly he rears up, hooves flailing, hits the ground into a full canter from stop to 1,000 in 1 second, literally. You know, and he just bolts straight down the entire path. And Lysette just freaks out, jumps on the gray mare and just runs after us. And we're just going straight down the whole thing, and all of a sudden, you know, my horse realizes it's being chased. You know, he looks his head back and sees the gray mare behind us. Does this hairpin turn, which is hilarious. You know, the mare's like almost trying to fall over itself, trying to keep up with Pericles. And, you know, we're just bolting down the whole thing, and we come thundering back up to the horse handler. It's like, wow, that was amazing. And I was just laughing, going, you know, I think he just wanted to joust. And the handler is like, yeah, and by the looks of it, he just would have killed that opponent. That was amazing. Wow. You know, you're okay? Oh, I'm fine. The horse is great. You know, he just, you know, had it in him. I just gave him his head, and he was cool with it. You know, and he was just fantastic. And I climb off the horse, and Lysette comes up, worried about me, mad as hell at that horse. Probably still mad at that horse, even to this day. I mean, you know, we just had a blast. I mean, it was hilarious. And I got so involved in so many things on that set that sometimes a lot of it just kind of escapes me. But those are the main stories behind everything. And then things changed because, you know, we went on, we did other films and whatnot. And Val and I got hooked into a whole series of films. We worked on, I believe it was called Escape 3000. It's Turkey Shoot. It's just a remake of Turkey Shoot. And it was connected with Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome, Dune, Conan the Destroyer, all shot in like the same day kind of thing. And we're working with Olivia Hussey. And Olivia says, you guys want to meet the other Olivia from Conan? I mean, you know, we're shooting Conan right over there. You know, I didn't know Lysette's name was Olivia. I knew her as Lysette. So I was completely oblivious to it. And I said, sure. And we go over and we meet Lysette again. You know, and here I am looking, I'm going, oh my God. Okay, so I immediately fall to my knee in front of her. And she looks at me and goes, rise, Sir Knight. And I look at her and say, I cannot rise in the place of the one I serve. And she goes, and my slayer too. And she takes me into an embrace, and we're back together again, and it's just absolutely amazing. And we had a blast on Conan. We really did. We got to work out. There was one time we were working with swords back and forth and on set, and then she's sitting there going, "That's hilarious. We've done this before." I go, "Yeah, we have." You know, we're sitting there working out with it, and one of the writers on Conan walks up to us and goes, "That's amazing. I mean, I hope you guys don't mind, but I'm planning on using this." I said, "Fine, you know, go ahead. You know, what are you doing?" And he was sketching out the storyboard for Red Sonja. And he was talking, originally the character was going to be Conan and Red Sonja, but it eventually got changed to another name. But same kind of thing. And he was sketching out the whole battle between Conan and Red Sonja as the lovers fighting each other and whatnot. I mean, Lysette ended up with the biggest blooper in history. You know, they're shooting something she's supposed to say. I think it was like the Castle of Tothamon or something like that. And she goes, the Castle of Christopher. And the director goes, cut. And Arnold laughs and goes, you've got Christopher on the brain, you do. You know, and it just ended up that way. It was hilarious. And the end of Conan, I look at Lysette and say, you know, if you got time, I mean, I know you got to fly back to England, but we're shooting Dune right over there. They wouldn't notice another extra or anything. She goes, well, I may stop by, but it's a high school thing, and maybe I'll tell you later. And boy, did she ever stop by. I mean, she walks on set, and, you know, I'm sitting there talking with her, and in walks Sting, and he goes, the greatest, most beautiful woman in all of England. And does she talk to Sting? No. Actors. She talks with actors. And she just bursts out laughing, going, just because I wouldn't date you in high school, Terrence, there's no reason to take it out on him. And oh my God, we're all just dying. I mean, the two of them just rip each other to absolute pieces. And it turns out that, you know, she went to high school with Sting and the whole 9 yards. And just absolutely hilarious. Clues us in on like 1,500 jokes I wouldn't ever repeat publicly. You know, it was just absolutely the funniest day on earth. And, you know, I mean, to top the whole thing off, Val looks at Sting and goes, you know, I just wanted to get an autograph from you, but that's the most hilarious thing I've ever heard in my life. And Sting goes, well, if Val Kilmer wants my autograph, I'll certainly give him one. I just don't have a pen right now. You know, the two of them just went off hilarious laughing. You know, it was just hilarious. We had so much fun on that, which is also why it's hard for me to talk about Dune, because I was on such a high when she left that I barely even noticed the set. I mean, I didn't notice anything. I was walking around on a cloud the entire set, and everyone was picking on me for that. But, you know, and then we hooked up together for several other productions. They put us back together for The House of Long Shadows, which was absolutely hilarious. Peter drives me to her house in Yorkshire, and I ring the doorbell. Lysette opens it, looks at me, throws me into a closet, leans on the door, and looks at hearing her voice through the closet door to Peter, going, "Thank you for bringing him. You may go." Like some ancient princess in a castle dismissing a servant. Most hilarious thing I've ever heard in my life, that anyone would talk to Peter Cushing like that. It's just absolutely hilarious. And of course, you know, they went on this long tantrum thing, and Peter just sitting there bearing through the whole thing, and eventually, you know, she lets me out of the closet, and we're just having a laughter time. And then we hooked up for House of Long Shadows. And that was amazing. I got to help put the makeup on her for the, she's supposed to be covered in acid and whatnot. She's got this like pop-out eye kind of thing and whatnot. And I got to help her with all the goriness of the acid mess. And we just had a blast with that. And then later on we did several other films together. We got to do, I think it was The Fifth Musketeer. We got to... I can never remember if she was actually involved in Swashbuckler, because we shot this at the same time, and I don't remember if she was there but not allowed to be on set because she wasn't really an extra or anything like that, but I don't really remember. But after we did those two films, we then got together for probably the most hilarious time in my life, Mata Hari. I can't even watch that film without bursting out laughing every time I see that scene, because I'm a rug. I mean, it's just hilarious. I get to be a human rug on the floor in one of the party scenes, and it's just that's the most hilarious thing on earth. And the stories behind that are just hilarious. And then, of course, we got together for Lady Chatterley's Lover. I think that was the last time I got to work with her on camera. And of course, all of England knows. You know, we got together for the production, the BBC's. Who Should the Stars Marry? And we had this big to-do thing on that, which everybody to this day probably still remembers. Hilarious time. Then when I was on Bigelow's Adventures in Time, was hilarious, because here I am, and Lysette shows up and asks if she could take me out for lunch, whatnot. So we go out to lunch together, and all I see is Lysette's expression going, "Oh my God!" She shoves me into a car, and we just drive off, and it's like, drive, and then we're being chased down the street by this whole mob of fans and whatnot. and she's laughing, going, "Oh my God, I'm dating a Beatle!" You know, it's just absolutely hilarious. We got together in England to do a demo for Krull, and that was a lot of fun. It was in the event center in London. It's the same place they hold like the Golden Demon Awards for Warhammer, and huge place. Many people in the audience and whatnot. And I'm working out with Ken Marshall doing a sword routine, and when I took off my helm, oh my God, the place just erupted. People shouting, "Hammer! Hammer!" And it just was absolutely amazing. And I was sitting there going, "Oh my God, thank you, UK. You really make me feel like I just came home." You know, and that was amazing. Absolutely was. And I'm dancing around this subject. It's very difficult for me to even think about talking about. Lysette really is one of the greatest loves of my life. And it's hard. It's hard when there's an ocean between us. And I really want to look at any agent or director that might see this and say, please, you know, just somehow, over the course of the rest of my life, find a way to put me and her back together for even just 5 minutes. I don't care. I don't even care. It was the last time I saw her, I was in college. And I was dating women I shouldn't have been dating. And she made them look like the porn stars they really are, even if they weren't. I never liked that. And that's the last time I saw her, and I hate that. That's the worst thing on earth, to have that being the last time you saw someone. I mean, we didn't argue or anything. It's nothing like that. But it's just really hard, you know. And that's also one of the reasons why I have a tendency not to want to publicly say a lot. But that woman is just everything in some ways. And hell, I knew that she was older than me. I knew she was married when I met her. You know? Didn't matter to us. We couldn't help the fact that we fell that much in love with each other. We understand the reality of life. We understand that, you know, she's in England, I'm in the US. But, you know, I really almost need to work with her at least one more time. So hopefully some director, some agent, some producer, casting director is going to eventually see this and say, okay, I'm going to put those two back together just because they're amazing on screen. And we are. I mean, we are probably the most professional, most incredible pair you've ever seen. We're like a firecracker pair on camera. And it doesn't matter. We just lift everybody up and just work as hard together as we possibly can. But the world is an amazing place. And I'm very thankful to have met her. I'm very thankful to have worked with her. And the times I had with her are probably the best memories of my life. Which is also very difficult because, you know, Barbara Steele, Lysette Anthony, Ursula Andress, Nicoletta Elmy, those four are some of the greatest times of my life, some of the happiest memories. And if you add up all the time that we just spent on screen together, let alone the times we spent off camera together, just on screen together, that's longer than any woman ever dated me. And that was only 3 years. You know, I mean, that's life, I guess.